For Louisiana versus all y'all, Jared Roser here with a familiar face on Louisiana versus all y'all channels, as well as around the state of Louisiana, hitting the roads on the recruiting trail. Sam Spiegelman, now at On3. I think he was still rivals last time we chatted about some top Louisiana prospects, but over with that good On3 group. And he's here to chat about some top Louisiana prospects yet again. What's happening, Sam?
Not much, man. Just really just counting down until we're live tonight. Tonight's obviously the start of Jamboree season. I missed Jamboree season the last, I think, 2 or 3 years. With it also coincides with week 0 in Texas high school football, which is my secondary passion here. So I am in Jamboree season in Louisiana. I'm really excited about the games that obviously we're going to try to catch all tonight. And also, I've been revising my schedule down to the wire thanks to Go Preps and thinking maybe I got 2 Jamborees to hit on Friday. So it should be a fun couple of days here in Louisiana.
Nice shout out for Hunter Bauer and company over at Go Preps. And we might as well jump right into it. We're going to be in Lafayette this evening by the time some folks are watching this. And if we're talking Louisiana prospects in that 2024 class, right now especially, it's time to talk Dominick McKinley with the Acadiana Wrecking Rams. He has a September 1st commitment date looming. And we texted some after I left Acadiana's scrimmage last week, and you were asking what was kind of the scuttlebutt out there. I was like, well, Dom apparently has a top 3. Dom said that top 3 is secret. It's going to be an interesting last 2 weeks leading up to this. What's your latest? I know you just had a piece on Dom hit on 3 in the last couple of days. What's your vibe on him and where he's at?
Yeah, well, you talk about an old school recruitment. We've had a lot of great number 1 players in the state, Jerit, you know that, and with last year even being Arch, which had its own aura of mystery, and Dom has his own sense of mystique around him as well. He's very careful with what he says and what he doesn't say. So you really have to read between the lines a lot, and it's not about what Dom is saying. It's more about what people are saying about Dom. I know that since he set his commitment date, everyone has been trying to dig in. Like you said, there's a thought that he has a top 3, and that top 3 could be pretty fluid. We believe that LSU and Texas are pretty surely in that top 3. Obviously, LSU has made a significant move since getting him and his family on campus in July. Texas, he's obviously visited a couple of times, including an OV in June, which I believe really set the bar for this decision date. And then you have a rash of other contenders, A&M and Ohio State, both with famed defensive line coaches, track records, and academics, which is a huge part. So they're really this could go in a lot of different ways. I'd be silly to say that I know where he's going. Dom is not going to tell me. I don't think he's going to tell. I think he's going to call a coaching staff on September 1st and let them know. And I think you and I also spoke about it's not going to be over with on September 1st. It's going to go through. They're going to make a run at state championships, and then there's going to be another chapter of this recruitment, I imagine. But I think Texas has a slight edge right now. I think LSU and A&M and maybe Ohio State fit the bill as a number 2 or 3 team, but I think they're all kind of playing catch up with the Longhorns right now as September 1st closes in. What's your read?
Yeah, I think in some aspects we have some similar thoughts. Pardon me. But at the answer that people want to know, I think we differ, because here we are August 24th, and if I was putting money on it, which I don't advise, I think it's Texas A&M. But the way recruiting is in general, and certainly recruiting now, more so even than in years past, a lot can happen in 7 or 8 days, and a lot can happen in the span of a few months. But I think Texas is certainly one to watch. I think A&M for me is where I expect it to be next Friday. I know LSU is going to keep pushing. He's the top player in the state, in an area of the state where they've had a ton of success recruiting. And I think we're both on the same page that Ohio State, despite being where they are in the country geographically, has been more of a player in this than I think people necessarily give credence to, because it's a Louisiana kid and it's Ohio State. But he had a great trip up there earlier this summer, and it just seems like it's been a really strong recruiting job by the Buckeyes. But I think right now we both think he's heading to the state of Texas. We just think he's heading to different ends of that rivalry.
Well, to that point is listen, LSU really started to get in this race after they hired Jimmy Lindsey, and Frank Wilson took a large role in recruiting Dominick and his family. That was over the summer. So they had been playing from behind, which is why there's largely been a sense that he's going to head out of state. With that being said, long term, we think LSU probably is going to stay in this race. Now, if he's going to go out of state, this is a family that Dom has been to more religious camps this summer than football camps. His younger brother, we're both going to check out tonight, plays along the defensive line next to Dom. Darius has, after this, 2 more years of high school football at Lafayette. To me, going out to Columbus every single weekend for Dom seems like just a lot to put on any family. So the Texas angle certainly works in both the Longhorns and the Aggies' favor.
And for folks that haven't checked out Darius McKinley yet in that 2026 class, he had a couple nice plays in that scrimmage. I'm sure we'll get some good footage of him tonight in the Jamboree. But jumping on to the next guy, a recent commitment announcement from Wardell Mack heading to Florida and posting the DBU graphic that some folks in Louisiana didn't love. But Corey Raymond, the former LSU DB's coach, was huge in that recruitment. And Wardell admitted, nothing's been signed. His teammate Kyrie Lee, who's an LSU commit, was very emphatic. Nothing's been signed. And he and Mike Turner and those guys are going to stay on him. What did you think about the, I think surprising to a lot of people, announcement from Dell that it wasn't Texas, it wasn't LSU, it was Florida, and the likelihood that it is Florida in December by the end of all this?
Yeah, I thought it was a statement win for our guy, Billy Napier and Corey Raymond and Jabbar Jaluk. Those are 3 guys that have spent a long time recruiting this state. And Wardell Mack on On3 is a top 20 player in the country. You and I both, he's a versatile game-breaking DB, and Florida under Billy Napier is trying to get that secondary and that defense back to that level where, I've been watching the Swamp Kings and, when they had Ahmad Black and these and Major Wright, those are the kind of DBs like Wardell Mack that they're trying to insert back into the mix. So I thought, listen, it not only surprised me, I think it surprised some of those staffs that you mentioned, Florida State included, LSU, and also definitely Texas. But yeah, he's going to continue. Listen, I think he wanted to have something done. There's a lot of pressure around the Ehret football program. Like, they're also going to make a run at state. They have a lot of seniors in that 2024 class that are primed to do so. He has a commitment locked in case of an injury. I think he felt good about Florida. He's already set to visit Texas next month. He's set to visit Florida State in November. I'm sure he's going to get to Gainesville in October or at some point this fall, and would not be surprised if he makes it to Baton Rouge, probably more so than we can say about Dom since Wardell is already committed. I think that there's another couple of twists and turns ahead for Mack.
Yeah, he's somebody that I'm definitely not taking my eyes off. I'll actually see him a second straight week in their Jamboree on Friday night over, right down the road from their school over at Archbishop Shaw. They'll be playing Brother Martin. About a month removed now from Tylen Singleton, Manny made standout Tylen Singleton up there with the Manny Tigers announcing his commitment to the LSU Tigers. Manny's a place that for a rural North Louisiana school we've both been very familiar with through the years, everything they've had going on from a high school success standpoint and prospects coming out. Can you put into words some of the significance of LSU landing a Manny kid and a Manny kid of that caliber for this 24 class?
Yeah. Well, for one, I think that there's definitely been an aura. It was definitely when Terrace, Marshall, and the Evangel trio where their recruitment started, there was a stigma that North Louisiana was more Alabama-centric and anti-LSU. They had obviously sent Hootie and Cam Robinson to Nick Saban and the Tide, given his obviously what he did at LSU and what he accomplished here, and then what he was doing at Alabama. And it felt like that it was really hard for LSU to break that trend. Obviously, LSU has righted the ship there, and it seemed like there was that same sort of aura about Manny in particular. Tackett Curtis is probably their best recruit in the last 10 years. I feel very confident saying that. Went to USC. LSU was really not even a factor with Tackett. We got to remember there was also multiple coaching changes going on at that time. And that opened, and AJ Carter is another famous recruitment where he had the LSU offer. He was committed for days before he flipped back to UCLA. It just wasn't a fit. It seemed like something was awry. LSU has been eyeing Tylen for some time, one of their first offers in this class. And to me, Tylen was leaning LSU for a good portion of his recruitment, especially before he really got to see the A&Ms, the Arkansas, the TCUs of the world. With Brian Kelly's new staff, getting guys like Joe Sloan, very familiar with that part of the state, that was the difference. Matt House, defense. You can go into the SEC. There's a lot of great defensive minds. Matt House obviously is among the best. But when you have someone like who's from the area, like Joe Sloan, what he did at Tech, along with guys like Frank Wilson, who are the godfather of the state, it made it easy to kind of reconcile those quote unquote stigmas about LSU. And from a player standpoint, I am the biggest fan of Tylen Singleton. What position does he play? I have no idea. I love positionless football. I think he can do so many different things at a high clip. And I think, I've seen him get beat in single coverage. Well, that makes sense because he's 6'1.5" and 200 pounds. He is most certainly a safety, and he's as tough as nails to play in the box. And I think that position versatility, that aggressiveness, and that versatility to play against the run, to get after the quarterback, and also drop back in coverage is second to none. I wouldn't want him to lead the state if I was LSU.
Yeah, LSU offered him as a young, long, lean DB / still wide receiver on the other side of the ball at that point, off of that freshman year where he had the big pick 6 late in a state championship game. And then after a couple of years of working out with Tackett Curtis, both those guys are looking like X-Men or something. And so he's not shying away from anything. And I love that addition for the class just as a player, but certainly the additional significance of a guy from that area. And our fourth guy on the agenda for this conversation, Trey'Dez Green, an LSU commit from late spring as they close the school year at East Feliciana, is now over at Zachary High, getting ready to kick off a 5A football season with the Broncos. What does that mean for a young prospect who's already got his college stuff figured out to go join what Coach Brew and company are doing over there? Moved into Zachary, I think, in June, and so has had a chance to go through some offseason stuff. But that ramp up in competition or change of scenery or whatever, what's your just overall read on that and what you're watching in that regard?
Well, like I said, this state has been so blessed to have so many elite players play at the small classifications. So this is one of the unique opportunities for, diehard fans like yourself and me. Like if Arch Manning or Derek Stingley Jr. or Devontae Smith were to play for a 5A powerhouse, and let's see what they could do against the best competition in the state, right? The 5A level. And at Zachary, what Coach Brew and his staff have done, there is no better place in the state to see what Trey'Dez can do in the weight program. I would love to see what his body looks like after a few months at Zachary. We know that at Eastvale, not only is he a standout basketball player, but he's playing an array of different positions out of necessity. When you're at a small school, you put your best player behind center, or you try to get him the ball as often as possible, and you let him work. Now he can be a part of the puzzle. They have good quarterback play. They have a system in place. They have other capable receivers and very good blockers up front to let Trey'Dez focus on being a pass catcher. Let's see how he does blocking. Let's see how they use him in different formations, and let's see how he lines up against some of the better defenses in 5A football. We know that Zachary is primed for a great regular season and another good deep playoff run, and I'm really curious to see how he fares again physically, and then just the creativity that we'll see with Coach Brew calling the shots. He's never really had a playmaker like Trey'Dez, so I'm sure that we're going to see some fun stuff. It's like if Andy Reid got a hold of Travis Kelce and they could revitalize the Chiefs offense. Let's see what the Broncos look like with Trey'Dez Green.
For a new look Broncos team that's had a bit of a quarterback battle that I think Caleb Gonzalez has started to step into the lead of, but Caleb and Hudson Spangler have battled through the offseason. Not having a returning star and an Eli Holstein or a Keelan Brown or a Lindsey Scott, but a new face at quarterback, a big 6'7" athletic basketball player of a receiver is going to be the best friend to whoever's throwing those passes.
100%. I again, not only as a pass catcher, but Zachary is tough. They're going to ask him to block. It would be a great opportunity. Again, he's dominated at his level. He's a top 150 player in the country. He is an all-world basketball player. The athletic profile is really unquestioned. This is a chance for him to kind of see this is another step in his development, because when he gets to LSU, he's of course going to have a better weight program, and he's going to be around some of the best coaches in the country. This is a chance, though. He's got some great coaches and great resources around him and a great offensive mind in Coach Brew to kind of see what else is Trey'Dez capable of instead of just projecting.
I'll leave you with this. Who's somebody in this state, in this 2024 class, that maybe isn't quite as highly ranked as some of these guys we just talked about, but that you've really kind of fallen in love with their potential and think that they have a chance to surprise some people and pan out at a higher level than maybe some people realize right now?
Yeah, maybe I'm a prisoner of the moment because I was at the car scrimmage last week. Or maybe it's just because we've been talking about some linebackers in the booth in the recent cycles. But Tah'j Butler, the Georgia Tech commitment, I think he's primed. He's primed. He's one of only 4 seniors returning to Carr's defense, which is unheard of for one of the powerhouses in the state. But he plays in the middle of the defense. I know from talking to Coach Bryce, Coach Howard. Basically talking to anyone who's around Tah'j, he's had just quite the offseason. Last year, he was really productive, but he did battle some injuries. Obviously, the tape was good enough that his recruitment really did take off in the spring. And even after he committed to Georgia Tech, one of the first Power Fives to jump on him over the some of the local schools. I still think there's going to be a couple of leaps and bounds in this recruitment. But from what I've seen in the spring game, what I've seen in some private workouts, what I've seen again in the scrimmage, he's really athletic. I hate to say it, but he's kind of a carbon copy of Debo Jones. He's just really athletic sideline to sideline. He's really instinctive, filling gaps. I don't know if he's like an attack at Curtis where he strikes you as an X-Men character, but he is really sound. He is really productive, and he is the heart and soul of that Card defense, which is going to be very young and very talented. And they're going to go under his direction. So I think as good as they are, Tah'j is going to be their leader. And I think that speaks volume about him as a character kid.
Yeah, love Tah'j. And there's a lot of kids I think that fit this category. For me, I was on the phone with someone this morning talking about how much I love what Tulane has done in the state with Jaden Scott and Josh Jackson and Traville Frederick, and the list goes on. I like a lot of what Ole Miss has done, a guy that we love in Ant Robinson, BB, who has a chance to really surprise some people as a fantastic athletic corner. But the guy I'm going to go with is right on the other side of the line of scrimmage for that same Edna Card team, Raji Dennis, the road runner, who is an elite sprinter and shows that speed on the football field. But watching from a year ago to this offseason, his continued development as a complete football player and just how much bigger and stronger he looked, even on the track when I saw him in May. And then you see him in his spring game 2 weeks later, going up over a Destrehan receiver in the back corner of the end zone and making a huge grab right in front of Aaron Anderson, who was eating it up. I think he's someone that Ole Miss got a guy that fits them very well and is going to, regardless of where he went, excel at a really high level as a receiver at the next level with speed you can't teach, but a more well-rounded game than we had seen from him as a younger player. And I think he's gonna show out there specifically if that commitment sticks in December and whatnot, that it's just going to be a great fit to utilize that tool and everything he brings to the table.
Yeah, he was part of the rotation last year, had a stellar season on the track and field, like you said, and really caught a lot of coaches' eyes. And then that spring game really jolted it. Miami was really early on him, and they were the only one that realized the speed. And then Ole Miss was quick on him after the spring game. I love, like you said, the separation is undeniable with Raji. He is beating guys drastically off the line. He separates down the field on separate occasions. But like you said, it's really getting the other aspects of his game polished, and made a couple of circus catches in the fall scrimmage. Really good after the catch. You see the acceleration. I agree with you. I think the guy reminds me of Xavier Thomas from a couple of years ago. He's just a spark plug, but he's got decent size, and he's continued to develop at a really fast clip, which is usually pretty promising, and he's going to have a lot of opportunities in this Carr offense this fall.
A lot of good guys to watch this fall. We'll be all over the place, checking them out, the guys we mentioned and plenty more all over the roads of Louisiana. I know you've got a head out, you got a heart out right now, but Sam, appreciate you taking some time to chat about him, and we'll see each other in a few hours, I guess.
I'll see you soon, brother.
Later, man. He's Sam Spiegelman from On3 for Louisiana vs. All y'all. Jerit Roser.